Hello and welcome to the 90 Minute Cynic Football Podcast. I'm your host Chris Gallagher and I'm joined by Louis McCaffrey.
Hello, Chris.
I'm joined by, I don't know what that was, Christopher Boud.
Evening all.
Again, don't know what that was. And Kieran Harron.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for being a gentleman, Kieran. Yeah, we've got lots to talk about. How is everyone? Everyone good? Fun? Happy times?
Getting better.
Getting better, absolutely. Seems to be the mantra of the Celtic fan at the moment. Getting better all the time. Boud?
Aye.
Good. Okay, let's just get kicked into it because we missed last week. It's a busy time for everybody and we can't all get time off work and other things, other projects coming up. But hopefully we'll endeavour to have a podcast almost every week. We've missed a few games so we can comment on them briefly. But what I want to do is I've got a quick question. It's about disallowed own goals. It's about disallowed goals because we saw a terrific goal from John Guidetti at the weekend, an overhead kick that was disallowed when it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been disallowed, but for whatever reason it was. Disallowed goals. Any spring to mind for anybody?
Not even a quick Google search could bring any to my mind.
No.
For me, it would be Frank Lampard at the last, what's this, 2014?
2006. 2010, sorry.
2010 World Cup, yeah, against Germany when that shot off on the side of the bar over the line. It was so far over the line, it was beautiful that they didn't get allowed. It
was delicious that it was disallowed. Other ones that was very funny. They keep referring back to that, even though Germany pumped England, what was it, 5-1 was it? They still refer back to that chance. Obviously the one I always remember is the George Cadet disallowed one at Ibrox, which was just scandalous. But there was a lot of, obviously, undercurrents there about cheating, etc. Boud, any come to mind?
No, just Frank Lampard, but Kieran stole that from me after I mentioned it, so I'm not wrong to him.
That's true, that's exactly. I don't know why you're speaking in that sort of voice, but aye, that's true. Boud did mention it first and Kieran did skip in there. But I mean, Guidetti's goal, it was terrific technique and should have counted.
It should have, and I don't mean to take away from it because it was an outstanding goal, but I think the keeper kind of didn't put his heart and soul in to try to save it since he'd heard the whistle. But he still kind of made an attempt.
Right, great insight there.
Just saying, everyone else seems to say, it was a great goal and it should have counted. I think the keeper can he be arsed?
There actually seemed to be quite a lot of overhead kicks at the time over the weekend because I remember there was Oscar for Chelsea. If I had been the other side of the post, that was getting. Keeper was not saving that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was for Nolan's goal for West Ham was Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll, Andy Carroll, brilliant overhead kick.
Saved it and then Nolan got a tap in. And I think there was another one, but I can't think who it was. So it seemed to be quite.
You'll never beat Wayne Rooney's against in the derby for overhead kicks, I don't think.
In fact, that was it. Ronaldo did it exactly. It was always very similar to Wayne Rooney's.
There's plenty of free kicks that would beat Ronaldo. Rooney's
overhead kicks?
Yeah.
Oh, Mexes?
Yuri Djorkaeff.
Yep,
Yuri Djorkaeff is the one that clearly, I mean, that was so good it was printed on the credit card of the club for the next season.
And Trevor Sinclair for QPR.
Trevor Sinclair QPR is terrific. Shut up, Louis.
Well, it's a game of opinions, obviously, and mine's is wrong.
It's about right and wrong, frankly, to be honest. No. What we'll do is we're going to focus on that scintillating performance is how I'm going to describe it at the weekend.
It's getting absolutely bashed in the papers.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, Louis. You can bring that strain of discussion with
Got
you.
A point to bring up, yeah.
Great stuff. Celtic Salzburg. Celtic 1, Salzburg 3.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, for a past game. Celtic were absolutely annihilated for 50 minutes. We watched it in the pub. Kieran, you were at it, so we'll give two different perspectives. How was it actually being at the game and seeing? I mean, they were for 50 minutes. Celtic were just destroyed.
Oh, the first 20 minutes, it was awful. They were just constantly attacking us. Got the 2 goals very quickly. But then in the second half, we kind of started to come in the game a bit more. We kind of, I don't know if they got their arse kicked, I assume, at half time. And then they kind of started giving it a bit more of a game. And obviously we got ourselves kind of back into the game with a goal. But overall, it was just poor performance.
I think after Celtic scored that goal, I think we scored in the 33rd, early 30s minute. I can check that actually, but I'm not going to. But after we scored the goal, we had a good period, about 5 or 10 minutes, where we're really going at them. That faded away. We got to half time, and as you say, in the second half, I thought it was a completely different game. The only issue, and this is something that maybe even will be brought into for the 2 games afterwards that we're going to talk about, is that we had chances in the Salzburg game that we didn't take. Again, Chris, I thought Griffiths performed very well. That it's unlucky that he wasn't, even in the starting lineup for the games afterwards, and he wasn't even in the squad on Saturday, which was a bit disappointing. Not taking our chances, Chris.
Yeah, it's a common theme, which is strange because Guidetti's kind of coming on to form, so we have that, and that's maybe where we've picked up and we've got these 7 wins in a row. Although our last game, obviously, Guidetti was maybe a little bit shy up front. But I totally agree. Griffiths, I think, played well. I think the issue Griffiths has got is that he's maybe seen as being just a striker. And as long as Guidetti's on form, he's going to be taking that role. Stokes, he maybe feels more comfortable playing in that kind of forward but on the wing position, whereas Griffiths, he's maybe tried him there and he doesn't like him. And to be fair, as well as Griffiths played, I don't think he played well enough to merit dropping Guidetti. So unless you're playing 2 up front, I don't think he was ever going to get.
Have you got some stats from the Salzburg game? 51% possession for Celtic.
Yes.
Shots on target. Our 7 to their 12.
That's shots and then on target. We had 7 shots, 2 were on target. They had 12 and they had 7 on target, which tells a story in itself.
Yeah, it does. That game, disappointing. Any comments you want to make about it, Louis? I mean, obviously it was a bit of a while ago. We recovered from just a dreadful start.
Just gave him too much respect, I think, at first, and we're obviously stunned by how they started. But I think once we got the goal, once Johansson scored, it was like a different team, different outlook. And sometimes Celtic have done that in the past. They get that way where it's almost as if they have to go a goal down or 2 goals down to go, hold on a minute, and just play with a bit more freedom,
which is
a bit less fear.
Really frustrating though, because they were demolishing us, and then the team, there's not any changes made, and then all of a sudden we are pretty much dominating them, or we're the better team.
Battered them second half.
Yeah. So what were you doing that first half an hour? You couldn't be asked.
I think that the point we've made on this podcast a number of times is we really want Celtic to come out the traps, full force, really press the side the team we're playing against back, specifically in Europe, and it's just really not happened, which is disappointing. What I found quite frustrating is we ended up having a lot of space. They were quite narrow, and we had a lot of space down a lot of width, and from that we didn't do a lot with it. Now that might be obviously because our wide players are cutting in a lot of the time, and we've got 2 fullbacks who are inconsistent, shall we say, in terms of delivery. Adam Matthews is beyond inconsistent. Adam Matthews is consistently poor. Izagiri can go from putting in a terrific ball like he did against 2 or 3 great balls against Motherwell to just skying it out of the box. That's what frustrating for me, and that's again a theme that will kind of carry on over the 3 games. But the Salzburg game, we've qualified due to the fact that Astra drew with.
They won.
Defeated Zagreb.
It's quite good because I don't know if I'd fancy having to get a win in Zagreb.
At any time, no matter what the team. I mean, just to go to Zagreb, it's a tough place to go to. Any European tie seems to be tough for us now, and that's no disrespect to us overall. It's just travelling away in Europe. Partick Thistle game, just tired.
I wasn't there, Kieran. You were there.
They've said that it was tired, but we've been playing twice a week, 3 times a week now for the last good few weeks. Why now all of a sudden that just this one game it's tiredness? I think it just didn't work for him. Again, it seems to happen is we'll get a game or two where we'll do really well and we'll play some really decent stuff, and then we'll have another game after it and it'll just be pure rotten sort of. There'll just be nothing. But then we pick back up again.
We're also playing Ambrose, which is...
Ambrose has been the better of the two centre-halves in the games he's played. The last 2 or 3 games he's played, he's been better than Van Dijk. Van Dijk was at fault for the goals against Salzburg. He was poor again against Thistle, although he scored. And if you look at Virgil van Dijk, he's got all the attributes to be a top professional. Well, he is. He's great technique. His passing's brilliant, and he knows when to move forward. Virgil van Dijk is a midfielder. Because the guy, when it comes to marking, when it comes to when to know when to push up, when it knows to looking over your shoulder, awareness at times is dreadful. And the guy is a great footballer. That's not in question. He's just not a centre half for me. Discuss. I don't know. Maybe people disagree, but the guy is aerial challenges for such a big guy defensively is fucking poor.
He's had his failings, and they've been covered up somewhat by the fact that he's got the qualities you mentioned and he's scoring these goals as well. But I wouldn't say out and out he can't do it at centre back. But Ambrose sucks. Also impacting the defence is Matthews, who I defended the last time we had a podcast. His last few performances, I think, have been poor. And even if Matthews was doing okay, Lustig is one of the best players we've got, so losing him is just going to impact us, I think, as a team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Losing him far too often now, Lustig.
Yeah, specifically this season. This will be the third time he'll be out. I'd hate to give up on Lustig, but at the same time, but you know,
young, but
as Boud said though, like the guy who's coming in replacing him isn't challenging him in any way, because see, as soon as Lustig's fit, he'll go back right into the team, and rightly so. Matthews is rubbish. He just is, and I'm not. And maybe people want a more analytical view of it, of his positioning not being great or this or that, but he's just not very good. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like he's got. He works part as well of the squad. He seems happy to when he's not necessarily playing every week, but for me, he's just not good enough. Your thoughts? Disagree or?
I don't think he's played well recently at all. But I would agree that Lustig's your number one, but I don't think Matthews is a bad kind of replacement for Lustig when he's out. I mean, I don't think he's that bad. He's not like, you don't have the fear of like Ambrose playing that you do with Mulgrew. He can still do a job, but fair enough, he's not going to do it as well as Lustig.
I agree with Louis, and also he's been poor this season, but we've seen that he is capable of being a really good player. So unless he's just had, in fact, he's not. I was going to say unless he's in great form, but he'd have to have been in great form for 2 or 3 seasons. Whereas I think it's more likely just now he's just got to run a poor form.
But
well, that's because he's in and out the team.
It may be more to do with the fact of he's aware of Izaguirre's positioning, because Izaguirre's really always far up the park. So if you have him far up the park, and if Matthews goes far out and we get caught, that means we're going to need midfielders covering both full-back areas. So I think Matthews doesn't tend to go too far forward, because he knows whenever you see Izaguirre's almost the opposite corner flag. So I think he's maybe slightly aware of, well, the ball's going to go to him an awful lot. I'll need to kind of stay a bit deeper so that we don't get both caught out on both sides.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times you see Izaguirre having to, that area gets caught out because he's not the fastest at coming back anymore. You see at times he just doesn't bother his ass coming back.
I mean, Matthews and Lustig clearly. See, the problem is if you have 2 injury-prone players in the same position, you just can't count on either of them. So I'm happy. I'm not happy, but if Lustig is injured, I'm personally not happy with Matthews.